Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with my college football week 6 prediction video. We have the first month of the college football season behind us, and this is already week 6. So this is like almost halfway through the regular season. So this season is like definitely flying by really, really fast. So that's crazy. But let's go ahead and get into my predictions. I have a busy Monday ahead of me as always. So like as always, I'm trying not to drag it on too long, but we'll see how I do. Thursday, October 4th, prime time game that night is number 13 USC at Utah. I do think Utah plays USC tough in this game. The loss of Jordan Wynn is really going to hurt Utah, but that didn't really hurt them too much though against BYU. I thought BYU was going to blow them out, but they didn't. USC, they really don't have an identity just yet. I mean, they're probably the most talented team in the Pac-12, but not the most talent doesn't necessarily always coincide with wins, who's going to win the championship of the conference, etc. But anyway, I do think USC does win this game. I don't think Utah is ready to match up with a team like USC just yet. I do think USC struggles in this game. USC traditionally struggles on Thursday night games, so that's a key factor here. But I do think Utah makes it close, but I do think USC and Matt Barkley pulls this game out of their butt. Basically, I said they win this game 27-24 over Utah. Friday, you have Pitt at Syracuse. Pittsburgh has improved ever since their terrible start against Youngstown State and lost by 2 touchdowns. Syracuse has been so-so this year. They're 1-3, but they've had a decently hard schedule. They played Northwestern, USC, Minnesota. Their only win is against Stony Brook. They played Northwestern close, lost by a point. They only lost by 13 to USC, and they only lost by a touchdown to Minnesota. So I mean, they're not that bad of a team. So they do have a insane offense. Ryan Nassib can throw the ball around. Definitely, they're averaging 340 passing yards a game. So I do think Syracuse wins this game in the Kibby Dome. Not the Kibby Dome, but it's gonna be a high-scoring game. I say Syracuse wins this game, 35-30 over Pitt. Be close. Utah State at BYU. Utah State, with old Chucky Keaton, the quarterback, is a dangerous team. They gave teams like Wisconsin a fight down to the very end, but BYU's defense, like I've said ever since the beginning, is one of the best in the country. A very underrated defense. I do think BYU wins this game very close. I say it's a low-scoring game. I say 17-14 BYU. Moving on to Saturday, Navy at Air Force. I'm gonna go with the Air Force Academy in this game. Navy's just, their offense is absolutely terrible this year. I don't know what's wrong with Navy. They can't run the ball, and that is their offense. And when you can't run the ball, you're in your Navy, you're done. They got shut out by San Jose State last week. That should tell you enough right there about Navy this year. So I'm going Air Force 27-14 over Navy. Kansas at Kansas State. Colin Klein and the Kansas State offense should absolutely blow out Charlie Weiss's absolutely terrible defense in Kansas. I say Kansas State gets over 40 points. I say 42 to 17 Kansas State. Connecticut at Rutgers. Gary Nova and the Rutgers offense should roll in this game. Connecticut can be dangerous as Lyle McLeod at running back. He's probably one of the most underrated running backs in the country. He carries the ball about 30 times a game, but James Jamison is just too much for that Connecticut defense. Connecticut has struggled on defense at times this year, so I say Rutgers wins this game 31-20. Rutgers wins 21-30. Northwestern at Penn State. Oh dear God, here we go again, Mr. Andrew Kahn. If you don't know, this guy's probably gonna comment on my video again. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations on your win. I was totally wrong, and yeah, was totally wrong in that game. Penn State had a great game against Illinois. Congratulations, Mr. Kahn. But Northwestern has been probably the most impressive team in the Big Ten this year that's eligible for a bowl game. Penn State has been impressive the last few weeks, but um, I still think Northwestern wins this game. Penn State's going to make it close. After last week, my perspective on Penn State changed a little bit, but I still do think they lack playmakers. And that's the one thing that's wrong with Penn State. But I think with the offense that that has been brought in, I do think that type of offense can work with players that aren't necessarily the best skill position players. They have a great defense. Penn State does. I don't think I'll go as far as saying it's great. It's a good defense. Probably third, fourth, maybe even second best defense in the Big Ten. But with that said, Northwestern's has been very, very impressive. Finally ranked at number 24, I think. Yep. And they rotate quarterbacks. They have a good running game. They're ninth in the country right now in rushing yards with 255 rushing yards a game. Their defense is only giving up 20 a game, and I don't think Penn State's gonna win this game. It'll be tough for Northwestern to go into Happy Valley to win this game, but I say Northwestern wins in a Big Ten style game, 24-21 over Penn State. Arkansas at Auburn. The battle of the two worst teams in the SEC West. You heard it here first. Ole Miss is probably a step ahead of Auburn and Arkansas right now. Arkansas is just absolutely just terrible. And Auburn is they've improved. Their defense has improved, and my heart doesn't want to go with Auburn, but my mind's going with Auburn. I want more than anything to pick against Auburn in this game and then to lose another game. But I just don't think Arkansas has anything and hasn't shown me anything that can give me the W, give me the opportunity to predict a W for Arkansas in this game. I just can't do it. I say Auburn wins this game. I say they score 27. 27-20 over Arkansas. Michigan State at Indiana. Michigan State should have no problem rolling over that terrible Indiana defense. Le'Veon Bell will go over 200 yards. Got me there. Say Michigan State wins this game 35-14 over Indiana. Iowa will remain undefeated against Buffalo. They'll win this game 34-14 over Buffalo. South Florida at Temple. South Florida gave Florida State the run for their money this year. Last week. Temple's been very disappointing in their first year back as a Big East member. They are 1-2 right now with their only win over Villanova. Lost to Penn State and Maryland. So B.J. Daniels has had trouble with the turnover bug this year. He's only thrown 7 interceptions. But I do think they have a little bit too much for South Florida, or for Temple rather. And I say they go over 30 points in this game. B.J. Daniels will go back on track this game and win this game 37-24 over Temple. Boston College at Army. Boston College should win this game easy. Army's even worse than Temple. Even worse than Navy. And I'll say Boston College should score over 40 points, honestly. I'll say Boston College wins this game 41-7 over Army. Boise State at Southern Miss. Southern Miss will fall to 0-6 in this game. Boise State, they're not near as good as they've been in the Kellen Moore days, but they're still good. Play good defense. Their offense is average. But I think Southern Miss will make it a game, especially being at home. But Boise State should win this game. I'll say it'll be a low-scoring, sluggish game. I'll say 20-13 Boise State. Mississippi State at the worst team in the SEC, which is the Kentucky Wildcats. Mississippi State is probably been the surprise of the SEC so far. They've been playing really well. They beat Auburn. They've had a few ugly wins, but a win's a win. They're ranked 20 in the country right now. I say Mississippi State wins this game and improves to 5-0. I think 5-0 or 6-0. I think they'll improve to 5-0. Tyler Russell should have a field day against this Kentucky secondary, which is probably the worst in the SEC. And I do say that Mississippi State should win this game 36-20 over Kentucky. V-Tech at North Carolina. Virginia Tech's coming off that loss against Cincinnati. Logan Thomas has been very, very inconsistent this year. The man can run like a deer, but he can throw like, I can't think of a good analogy there. He's just really inconsistent. Let's put it at that. At times he can look like Cam Newton, and sometimes he can look like Sean Parker Wilson. um, and I don't know. I think Virginia Tech squeaks this game out riding on their defense. But I do think Giovanni Bernard and that North Carolina offense does give Virginia Tech a run for their money. But North Carolina looks like a really uninspired team so far early in the season, with them being ineligible for a bowl game. So I'll say VTech 24-20 over North Carolina. Arizona at Stanford. Arizona's coming off that near comeback win against Oregon State. Stanford's coming off that Thursday night game and shocking loss with Washington. I think Stanford wants revenge in this game, and it's kind of Arizona's not as bad as their record is right now. I think they're either 2-2 or 3-2 right now. But they played some of the best teams in the Pac-12 so far, so give them credit. They're not as bad as their record is. They even beat Oklahoma State by like 20 points. But Stanford, they have a few extra days to prepare for this game because they played last Thursday. So coming off the rest, coming off revenge, playing at home, I do think Josh Nunez and that Stanford ground and pound offense wins this game 32-24 over Arizona. Virginia at Duke. I say Duke wins this game. Virginia's coming off that game. I predicted the upset there, Louisiana Tech over Virginia. I predicted that. Yay me. Duke's coming off a W against Wake Forest. Duke is 4-1 right now, so watch out for the Duke Blue Devils. Let me see who their one loss is against so far this year. The one loss is against Stanford, 50-13. They have wins over Florida International and North Carolina Central, Memphis, and Wake Forest. But that's 4-1. Possibly, if Duke can get 2 wins, they can go to a bowl game for the first time in a really long time. Sean Renfree is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the ACC. Just has really not that many playmakers to give the ball to, so that's why he struggles at times. But I'm going to give Duke the victory this game, especially playing at home. Virginia right now has nobody on offense. Michael Ronco is turning the ball over way too much, and I say Duke wins this game 27-24 over Virginia in a close game. God, there's so many games to predict this week. I kind of speed this up. I've got a bunch of stuff to do. Number 4, LSU at number 10, Florida. You know what really sucks is I'm not going to be able to watch any of these games, so I'm going to be at my last senior homecoming. So it always seems like on my homecoming day, there's so many good games, and this is going to be one that I really would want to watch. But anyways, LSU at Florida. Battle of two defenses. This is going to be a low-scoring game, I think. Playing at the Swamp. This game's going to be ridiculous. Don't know which way to go. I'm going to go LSU. I think Zach Mettenberger's not as bad as he's been playing. He has a really strong arm. He's just inconsistent right now, and LSU has no identity on offense as it is right now. Their defense is, I don't think they're good as they were last year, but I do think they're still top 5 in the country easily. That game against Towson was just a I don't know what you call it. That's not a true test of LSU's defense. Florida is coming off a bye week, so they do have an extra week to prepare, but so did LSU basically, because they're coming off the game against Towson, which they did struggle in. I think they ended up that game 38-22, but I do think defense wins this game, and LSU wins 14-10 over Florida. It'll be a very close game. Georgia Tech at Clemson. All I gotta say about this game is if Middle Tennessee State can put up 49 points on Georgia Tech, imagine how many points Clemson at home can put up against Georgia Tech. So I'm gonna go out of the water here. I'm gonna say Clemson 57, Georgia Tech 30. Iowa State at TCU. This will pretty much be TCU's biggest challenge of the year. They have played teams like Virginia and Kansas. They've already got their first Big 12 game out of the water, but Iowa State is no joke. They lost their first game in a very close game to Texas Tech last week. You didn't know that was the only game last week against two undefeated teams, Iowa State and Texas Tech. Iowa State was lead most of the game, and Texas Tech had to come back and win this game. But that said, I do think Casey Pahal at home beats Iowa State. They've been playing kind of sluggish on offense, scoring the 20s just about every single game. They struggled with SMU last week. They forced many turnovers, so I do think TCU forces one or two too many turnovers for the Iowa State offense to compensate for. So I'd say TCU wins this game 27-17 over Iowa State. Oklahoma at Texas Tech. Here, let me check. This is my upset of the week right here. Texas Tech, the second straight year, I believe, is going to beat Oklahoma. Sorry to what's the guy's name? Hambone. Don't take any offense to this. I hate sometimes predicting because I know I have viewers who are fans of certain teams, and I hate it when I have to predict against their favorite team. Just remember, it's a personal opinion, and it's nothing against your own teams. It's just my opinion, so don't hate me on this. But Texas Tech, they should be ranked right now. They're top 20 in the country, I believe. Seth Dodge is a really good quarterback, and not many people know about him. They have playmakers all over the field. They're actually running the ball now under head coach Tommy Tuberville, playing decent defense. And last time I checked, Texas Tech was actually number one in all statistical, not all, but overall defense in the country. So they're playing good defense. Looking at their stats right now, they're 7th in the country with 360 passing yards a game. They're running the ball 42nd in the country, 200 rushing yards a game, which is not necessarily Texas Tech style of football, but I mean it's working. They're 11th in the country with 44 points a game, and they're 5th in the country with only giving up 11 points a game. So they're playing good. I mean, Texas Tech is for real, folks. I mean, even against not so great competition, I mean that's still pretty good football right there from the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So with them playing at home, this is a 2:30 game on ABC. Texas Tech will pull off the upset. Oklahoma's just playing uninspired football. The offensive line injuries in the preseason absolutely killed them. Landry Jones is not playing up to his hype. Their defense is so-so. Defense is probably third, fourth, fifth best in the Big 12. And we'll definitely see Texas Tech's true colors this game, and I do think they win this game. I'm going to say Texas Tech 27, Oklahoma 24 in a very close game. Wake Forest at Maryland, both these teams have been struggling, but I do think Tanner Price and that Wake Forest offense, Michael Campanaro, I'll say it one time, say it again, reminds me of Wes Welker so much. But this will be a really sluggish game. Maryland is still trying to find out how good of a team they can be. Playing at home against the old Demon Deacons, do think Wake Forest wins this game 20-17 over Maryland. Illinois at Wisconsin. Both these teams have been absolutely struggling this year. Wisconsin coming off that comeback, the kind of collapse against Nebraska. They beat Nebraska, and then Nebraska comes soaring back in the second half and scores 20 points. So Wisconsin 7 to win the game by 3 points. Wisconsin's offense is terrible. 109th in passing yard, 98th in the country in rushing yards per game. That's Wisconsin football right there. That they pound the ball, and they're not doing that this year. Not necessarily because it's Monte Ball's fault. It's because the offensive line is terrible, man, absolutely terrible. And they're 99th in the country for points on offense per game, 22 points a game. I mean, if you look at the schedule right now, I'm looking at it. They beat Northern Iowa by 5 points. Then they lost to Oregon State, beat Utah State by 2 points, and they beat UTEP by 11 points. So they very easily could be 0-5 right now. So they should be glad to where they are. But so this is going to be a really tough game to predict. Illinois, I'm going to go Wisconsin just because I think Illinois is very terrible. They're coming off 3 absolutely blowout losses, if I can name them all. Arizona State, Louisiana Tech, and Penn State. They lost these games combined, I think, maybe over 100 points, if I'm right. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with Illinois. Their defense is just not doing great at all under new head coach Tim Beckham. I'm gonna go Wisconsin in this game. Go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say 27-17, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's defense still is good though. Don't get me wrong. Michigan at Purdue. I'm gonna go the Boilermakers in this game. This could be an upset possibly, but Purdue is probably a dark horse in the Big Ten, definitely. They did give up 41 points to Marshall last week, but they have played teams like Notre Dame really close, and that's when I see two tough teams going at it. That's really a true test of what that team is really about. Caleb Turbush is a very, very underrated quarterback in the Big Ten. If you probably your average fan won't know who he is. Michigan, I think, is going to turn the ball over too many times with this game being at Purdue. So I'm going to say Purdue wins this game in a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 37-34, close game for Purdue. But they do pull out their first Big Ten win of the season. Washington State at Oregon State. This would be a fun game to watch because you're watching probably the best defense in the Pac-12 versus not the best offense in the Pac-12, but the most interesting offense in the Pac-12. But I do think Oregon State doesn't give up over 30 points to Washington State, but Washington State's defense is terrible. So I think Sean Mannion just picks apart this Washington State defense, and they win this game 37-21 over Washington State. Still a bunch of games to predict. Georgia at South Carolina. Man, this is going to be a fun one. Georgia definitely struggled on defense last week against Tennessee. Granted, they turned the ball over a lot, putting their defenses in tough spots in their own territory. And that's not good when you're playing against Tennessee because they do have a very effective offense there in Knoxville. But Aaron Murray had played a great game. He did turn the ball over, like I said, but he did compensate for that. South Carolina's coming off the near disaster against Kentucky. They had to come roaring back in the second half to win this game. Connor Shaw, I think, is still kind of banged up, but he played all right last week against Kentucky. I'm going to go Georgia very, very, very close in this game. I'm going to say Georgia 34, South Carolina 31. And probably the most interesting game of the week, West Virginia at Texas. The best offense in the country versus possibly the best defense, or one of the best defenses in the Big 12, playing at Texas. So that makes it that much harder for West Virginia. They did struggle against Baylor. I mean, Baylor put up 63 points against West Virginia, and that's not going to get you that far. Your offense can only bring you so far in a conference and in a football season. And at some point in the season, that's going to bite you in the butt. And David Ash has been playing really well this year. All the doubters, if you actually been following Texas, probably aren't doubting him that much anymore. I'm definitely not. He's played really well. This game's gonna be so hard to predict, man. But I'm gonna go West Virginia, in a heck of a ball game. I'm gonna say West Virginia scores over 40, but I'm gonna say so does Texas too, because just about anybody in the country really could probably score over 40 against West Virginia. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say West Virginia 44, Texas 40. Won't surprise me one bit if Texas wins this game, because West Virginia really hasn't faced a true test in a team that can actually run the football. They play all these spread attack type offenses that throw the ball just like they do. But Texas is 19th in the country right now with 228 yards a game on the ground, and they play a physical type of offense. They pound the rock, so it's going to be close. But like I said, 44-41. But like I said, it will not surprise me at all if Texas wins. That's just my gut feeling right now. Vanderbilt at Missouri. Missouri's coming off that near disaster at Central Florida last week. I told you that game was going to be a close one. But this game's going to be at Missouri, so it's just the first, I don't think this is the first home game for the first SEC home game for Missouri. I don't think so. Yeah, they played Georgia at home. Sorry. But Vanderbilt, they still don't have an identity yet. They look so promising in that first week against South Carolina. And you thought they were going to win that game, but now they're sitting at 1-3 with their only win over Presbyterian. Coming off a bye week, so I do think they had time to prepare for Missouri. But they lost to Georgia 48-3. Missouri pretty much until the fourth quarter hung with Georgia pretty tough. It really depends how far Vanderbilt can get in this game with their quarterback play. Jordan Rodgers has been really struggling. They've been having to bring in Austin Carter-Samuel, so I think it has potential to be a really good quarterback, but he has to learn to throw the ball more accurately and more consistently than he has been doing. Because he has no problem running the ball. It's just kind of like the Larry Smith deal a few years ago with Vanderbilt. But I do think Missouri gets their first SEC win in school history, and I'd say they win this game 34-24 over Vanderbilt. A&M, Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Oh my God, 26 minutes. Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Ole Miss played really inspired football last week, and if they didn't turn the ball over 3 times last game, it would have been a lot closer than it really was. But Alabama did win the game 33-14. I was there, so yay. But they could run the ball. They really could. They run the zone read really well with Jeff Scott at running back. Bo Wallace, I think, even though he turned the ball over, he struggles throwing the deep ball, but getting out of pressure, throwing the short passes. He can run the ball real well. He's a really good quarterback. Don't let those 2 picks fool you. They did play physical defense. They played inspired football. And with their first SEC home game this year, I think they do beat Texas A&M. I think this is kind of upset. People are going to be predicting Texas A&M will win this game. But I do say Ole Miss wins. I really do. Close game. I'm going to say Ole Miss 30. A lot of close games this week. I'm going to say Ole Miss 31, Texas A&M 27. A few more games to predict. Miami at Notre Dame. Miami has improved since that loss to Kansas State, which was pathetic, 52-13. But they are now 3-0 in the ACC. They ever since that game, they've been playing actually pretty well. They struggled early in that Boston College game, came back to win that game, and then they get blown out by Kansas, and they've been playing all right since then. They exposed that what I thought was the best secondary in the country, and NC State absolutely exposed that secondary last week. Stephen Morris had a record-setting, I think, 566 yards against North Carolina State last week, and they are 3-0 in the ACC, so they're impressing me. Definitely have a different opinion on them than I did week 2, but I think they do give Notre Dame a tough game. But Notre Dame's defense is too good this year. They don't turn the ball over, so I'm gonna say Notre Dame wins this game. 27-17 over Miami. Florida State at North Carolina State. I do think this could be kind of a wake-up game for the Seminoles. North Carolina State can be a really good team. They just haven't. I don't know why. They have talent all across the board to be a great team. Great secondary, and they have a great quarterback, great running back, decent wide receivers, so I don't know what's wrong with them. I guess it's just a lack of execution. But I do think they give Florida State a tough game, especially with it being at North Carolina State. But I think Florida State's defense is a little bit too much for that offense from North Carolina State that hasn't been that impressive this year. So I'm gonna say Florida State in kind of a sluggish game that they had last week against South Florida. So I'm gonna say North Carolina State loses 31-17, 31-20 over Florida State wins this game. 3 more games to predict. Nebraska at Ohio State. I think Nebraska finally gives Ohio State a loss in this year. This will be a tough game. Night game at the Horseshoe. Ohio State definitely will be inspired. Their first true night home game, Big Ten game this year. Nebraska had that rally win against Wisconsin. So I think Ohio State's defense is just going to give Nebraska's offense some fits. I think that Taylor Martinez will throw a few picks. But I think so will Braxton Miller. Braxton Miller still hasn't impressed me as a passer. Heck, he can run the ball like anybody else in the country. He's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the country at running the football, but he just still hasn't really impressed me on throwing the ball downfield just yet. He could change my opinion on this game, but I just don't know just yet. And I say Nebraska wins this game very close. I'm going to say 27-26 Nebraska. This is be closer than the other games. Two more games. I'm going to try to go through them really quick. UCLA at Cal. Cal's been probably the most disappointing team in the Pac-12. They're 1-4 right now with losses over like Nevada. It's Nevada, Ohio State, USC, Arizona State. So they haven't had an easy schedule by any means, but they gave up 25 sacks this year. 25 sacks. And your quarterback's not going to be healthy when he's getting sacked 25 times a game. They have dangerous threats on offense. I mean, Zach Mander's not a bad quarterback, don't get me wrong. So Felly is a short guy, but he's a explosive running back, and you have Keenan Allen, who's probably the best wide receiver in the Pac-12, arguably. But I don't know how I'm going to go in this game. It'll be close, but I do think UCLA wins this game. UCLA's really impressed me this year, even though they lost. But Brent Hundley's a really good quarterback, a young quarterback, and James Franklin. Don't judge him on his last game. He only had 44 yards against Oregon State, but he's, like I said, is a good running back. Probably one of the most underrated running backs in the Pac-12. And with this game being at Cal, I'm going to go UCLA 38-28 over Cal. And last game, Washington at Oregon. Washington is coming off that game against Stanford where they absolutely shocked the world. I didn't think Washington was give them that much of a fight. But Oregon has been very, very impressive to me. I've been surprised they haven't got more first place votes than they have. They've been very, very impressive. They did kind of struggle a little bit to Washington State, but I mean, so far they've scored 57. They scored 57 points in Arkansas State, 42 on Fresno State, 63 on Tennessee Tech, and they beat Arizona 49-0. Their defense isn't great by any means, but they can turn the ball over. They could not turn the ball over. They can create turnovers. But if they don't create turnovers, they can struggle. But I do think they win this game just because they outscore Washington. I'm gonna say 52 to 31. 52 to 31 Oregon. So that's been my week 6 prediction video, 33 minutes. I'm sorry this went forever, but there was a bunch of big games this week. So I'll see you guys later. And as always, roll tide, go Sox, and go Titans to you. And I hope you enjoyed. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you guys later.